Today's vignette is over learning disabilities, particularly focusing on dyslexia. Now, the reason I chose dyslexia is because I was diagnosed with it at a young age. And so growing up, it was hard for me to succeed in school. In my opinion, it was hard to succeed in school. And it was mainly because the teachers thought I didn't care, to pass or to do well in school. And they solely based that off of, my low grades and my low test scores. So I was always titled, a troubled child. But little did they know, or, we came to find out that I did have dyslexia. So after the teachers found out about my condition, my quote-unquote condition, I was kind of treated differently and was given special attention, and I really just didn't like it because I would have much rather just been considered a normal kid. So today my presentation will include what dyslexia is and how common it is among students. Also, about what skills are affected by dyslexia. And then next, it will be what can be done at home to make the journey easier for a child with dyslexia. Then I will give some comments from a peer-reviewed journal article and touch briefly on a law created in Texas for dyslexia. And I hope y'all enjoy. First off, let's kind of clear it up what dyslexia is and isn't. And so dyslexia is not a sign of low intelligence or laziness. It is also not due to poor vision. It's a common condition that affects the way the brain processes written and spoken languages. If a child has dyslexia, it is associated with a number of things such as trouble reading, writing, spelling, and even speaking at a young age. Dyslexia isn't something a child outgrows. And according to the U.S. Department of Education, more than 2 million students ages 3 through 21 have learning disabilities. Some everyday activities and skills, that may or can be affected in a child. It starts out with social skills. And when a child struggles with social skills, struggling in school can make a child feel inferior around other kids. And so that child may stop trying to make new friends or avoid group activities and all. And the next, children may also have trouble understanding jokes or sarcasm when they have dyslexia. And so another skill that is affected by dyslexia is memory. Kids with dyslexia may take longer to read a sentence that they may not remember the sentence that came before it. This makes it tough to understand the meaning of the text. Next, we have navigation. Navigation can also be affected by dyslexia. And so children with dyslexia may struggle with, spatial concepts such as going left, going right, or the difference from left and right. This can lead to fears about getting lost in school, getting lost in the school hallways and other familiar places. And lastly, when it comes to skills affected by dyslexia, it's time management. And so time management can be affected by dyslexia, and in turn, this can make it hard to tell time or stick to a simple schedule. And so this next slide is about help at home and really just making it easier to transition through, having dyslexia at a young age. And so there are ways that a child can be helped at home. The first example is having your child read out loud. And this can either be, the parent reading to the dyslexic child or the child reading out loud to the parent. And so when a child hears a person read out loud, it can let a child focus on the understanding of the material as well as expanding their overall knowledge base. Next is when it comes to getting help at home. Next is to tap into the child's interest. And so providing a variety of reading materials such as comic books, mystery stories, even food recipes, and articles on sports or famous music stars. Kids with dyslexia and other reading issues are more likely to, power or keep reading through a book if the topic is interesting to them. And lastly, and is honestly my personal favorite, is using audiobooks. And it sounds silly now that I, think of it out loud. It sounds silly that someone like me working on their master's degree, and I'm almost finished, in May, and I still listen to audiobooks to this day. And it's true because I really do use audiobooks, and even at times I record myself to help understand the material. So I'll read a study guide into my phone, recording myself, and then the way I study for it is playing back that recording that I already had on my phone and just following along as I read to myself. And so listening to a book, going back to the children, it says, listening to a book while looking at the words can help your child learn to connect to the sounds she or he is hearing to the words she is seeing. So, she sees it and now she hears it, and it just makes it easier for the child. And next is just the educational and legal standpoint. Of course, here's one of my articles that I had found, and it was by Yeoman and Mather, and it stated that throughout the various states of the USA, the appropriate identification of dyslexia and the timely provision of interventions are characterized by variability and inconsistency. Several states have recognized the existence of this disorder and are well-established needs, to serve the kids, such as Texas, which I'll get into that in a second. But other states have taken, and some states have taken a proactive step to implement laws and regulations for both identification and treatment, and also the provision of equal access to students who are diagnosed with dyslexia. But then you have the other states, however, who have not developed such laws and guidelines, associated with children and dyslexia. And the next is just the Texas Education Code, the law that I found. And luckily it was from Texas. And so according to the Texas Education Code, titled Screening and Treatment for Dyslexia and Related Disorders, and there's kind of two things that go along with that. And first is students enrolling in public schools in this state shall be assessed for dyslexia and related disorders at appropriate times in accordance with a program approved by the State Board of Education. And secondly, in accordance with the program approved by the State Board of Education, the Board of Trustees of such school district shall provide for a treatment of any student determined to have dyslexia or related disorders. And so, in conclusion, dyslexia doesn't make a child dumb, and it doesn't necessarily make a child lazy. It just makes it harder, and it makes them, in my opinion, it makes them special because they do have to work even harder than the rest of the world, to get that A, or even to get that C. Just to pass can be rewarding at times. Many skills are affected by dyslexia, such as social skills, memory, navigation, and time management. And then I also provided ways to help children make education easier for them, with my favorite, of course, being audiobooks. And lastly, I talked about the Texas Education Code regarding dyslexia. Thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoyed.